It was a calm Sunday afternoon when I first sensed something wasn't right. At the time, it seemed like a fleeting remark, nothing worth dwelling on. But in hindsight, that was the moment everything shifted. We were gathered around the dining table for our usual family get-together. My parents, my older brother Ethan, and I, joined by a few cousins who'd come to visit. The house buzzed with warmth, filled with laughter and the clatter of dishes. I'd just returned from a short trip, and as always, the conversation turned to my recent ventures. There'd been a recent matter involving an inheritance from my grandparents, funds I didn't urgently need since I was in a stable financial spot. I'd always been cautious with money, saving diligently and avoiding extravagance, unlike Ethan, who seemed caught in a loop of ventures that never quite succeeded. I brought up the inheritance casually, keeping the mood light. "Yeah, the estate finally got sorted out," I said with a grin. "I don't really need it, but it's nice to have that safety net." My dad gave me an odd, strained smile, which wasn't like him when money came up. My mom was toying with her teacup, staring off toward the window. And Ethan? He was his usual self, flashing a grin but staying mostly silent, only chiming in when he had to. Then came the strangest moment. My mom glanced at my dad, then at me before speaking. "You know, Ethan could use some of that inheritance more than you, don't you think?" I froze. The room's atmosphere seemed to shift in an instant. "What?" I asked, unsure if I'd heard correctly. "I mean, sure, but he's managing, right?" Ethan, sitting across from me, tensed visibly. An uneasy silence followed, and he cleared his throat. Yeah, I'm getting by," he said vaguely. "Things are just a bit trickier for me." That was putting it mildly. Ethan had always been struggling. Or at least that's how he painted it. Every few months there was a new scheme, a failed business, or some risky investment that fizzled out. It was a predictable pattern. What caught me off guard wasn't Ethan's words, it was my parents' demeanor. There was this peculiar, almost guilty look in their eyes, as if they were defending something. Their words lingered, confusing me. "Look," my dad said after a long pause, "we just feel Ethan needs the money more right now. He's had a rough go of it." I stared, trying to make sense of it. "Are you saying you gave Ethan my inheritance?" I asked, my tone sharper than intended. My mom stood abruptly, her cheeks flushing. "It's not like that, Caleb," she said, flustered. "We didn't want Ethan to feel overlooked. He's been struggling, and we thought it'd help him get back on track." Frustration surged inside me. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about fairness being turned upside down. I'd worked hard, made sacrifices, saved wisely, and passed on risky opportunities. And now they were saying my brother, with his track record of reckless choices, deserved it more. It was absurd. But I didn't know how to react. Part of me wanted to lash out, to call out the ridiculousness of it all, but another part understood their perspective. They loved Ethan and wanted to support him. But did that justify taking my share without even consulting me? My emotions were a mess. Ethan, to his credit, looked uneasy, glancing between me and our parents. He didn't seem remorseful, but his expression shifted when he realized I wasn't buying the "he needs it more" excuse. Still, he stayed quiet, letting our parents handle it. I didn't know what to say. My parents were clearly uncomfortable, and Ethan acted like nothing was wrong, or maybe he truly didn't care. I stood up, muttering, "I need some air," and left the room, the weight of their choice heavy on me. I spent the next hour pacing the backyard, trying to process it. Did they think I wouldn't notice? Was this a one-off, or was there more to it? What was I supposed to do now? The situation felt wrong. I kept replaying their words. "He needs it more than you." It wasn't just about money, it was about respect, how they viewed me versus Ethan, and why they couldn't treat us equally. But more than anything, it was about what I'd do next. I wasn't going to let this slide. I decided I'd confront them soon. I wasn't sure what I'd say or how it'd go, but I couldn't ignore it. Too many questions lingered, and I had a nagging feeling something else was at play. That would have to wait until the next family dinner. Update. I should have known there was more to this than my parents let on. After that strange dinner, I kept second-guessing myself. Part of me wanted to let it go, chalk it up to their misguided love for Ethan. But something felt off. Their words, "he needs it more," kept echoing, too dismissive, too final for a simple family issue. I couldn't stop thinking about it, whether I was working or trying to unwind. It wasn't just the money, it was how they didn't even ask my opinion, assuming they knew what was best for me. I'm not selfish, but I've worked hard. They knew that. Yet they handed it to Ethan without hesitation. It gnawed at me. A couple of weeks later, I stumbled on something that changed everything. I was at my parents' house to grab some stuff I'd left behind. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until I overheard them talking in the kitchen. I was halfway up the stairs when I heard my mom's voice hushed. "I think Ethan's set now. This new project sounds solid." My first thought, what new project? Ethan's promising ideas always flopped. He had a knack for making things sound good until they fell apart. I leaned closer, staying quiet. "He says it's a great opportunity," my dad said. "If it works out, it'll all be worth it. No more scraping by." "Right," my mom replied. "But we need to make sure he doesn't slip back into old patterns. He's got so many debts, we can't let him sink." My stomach churned. A new opportunity, debts. This didn't match the struggling Ethan story they'd sold me to justify giving him my inheritance. It sounded like Ethan's situation wasn't what it seemed. I couldn't shake it. I had to know more. I waited a few days before asking Ethan about it, keeping it casual to avoid suspicion. "Hey, what's this new project you're working on?" I asked, leaning against the counter at our parents' place. "Mom and Dad mentioned something." Ethan's face tightened, that familiar discomfort flashing across it. He shrugged. "Just something I'm tinkering with, nothing major. A buddy and I are collaborating." "A buddy?" I pressed, keeping my tone easy. "Sounds like you've got something solid." "Yeah, maybe," he said, guarded. "It's early, got some investors lined up." Investors. Ethan with investors. He wasn't exactly the type to inspire confidence in anyone with cash. And my parents hadn't mentioned investors when they talked about his struggles. Something wasn't adding up. "So you're doing all right then?" I asked, still casual. He gave a thin smile. "Yeah, I'm fine. All under control." But I didn't buy it. The pieces didn't fit. I kept the conversation light, probing gently, and the more he talked, the more his story unraveled. Little details clashed with what my parents had said. The desperate Ethan, drowning in debt, wasn't there. That night alone, I dug deeper. I sifted through old texts from Ethan, emails about his past projects, and even checked public records. It felt a bit like playing detective, but I found it. Ethan had been getting serious funding from a private investor for his ventures over the past year. A lot of money. I was floored. The brother my parents said was struggling was getting outside help, big time. Everything they'd told me about his desperation was a lie. I'd been played, and I felt foolish for not seeing it sooner. The worst part, my parents had fallen for it too. They'd bought his sob story completely. I knew I had to confront them, but I needed the full picture first. So I waited for the next family dinner. The tension was already brewing, and I knew this would change everything. Final update. I'd been dreading the next family dinner all week. I couldn't let it go, but I wasn't sure how it'd unfold. You can only bottle up so much before it spills over, right? After learning about Ethan and the inheritance, I wasn't going to sit quietly anymore. The dinner started as awkwardly as ever. Ethan sat at the table's far end, my parents chatted about a recent vacation, and I was just waiting. The casual banter felt like a facade, hiding the mess we all knew was there. The normalcy made it worse. The aroma of my mom's casserole, the clink of forks. It was all too perfect, masking the chaos underneath. It wasn't just about the inheritance anymore. It was about respect, fairness, and being seen as more than the stable one who didn't need help. I deserved to be treated equally. After some polite chatter, I couldn't hold back. "So, Ethan," I said, my voice steady but sharp, "how's that new project going? Sounds like you're doing better than we thought." The table fell silent. Ethan froze, looking like a cornered animal. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. My parents shifted uncomfortably. My mom's face reddened, and my dad fiddled with his glasses, avoiding my gaze. "It's a big deal," Ethan said, defensive. "Lots of moving pieces, you wouldn't get it." "You're right," I cut in. "I wouldn't, because last I heard you were drowning in debt. But when I looked into it, I found something curious." My mom's hand shook as she reached for a glass. I let the silence hang. "Turns out," I continued, "you've been getting serious funding. Investors, big money. Funny how you never mentioned that, given how desperate you were. So why keep it from us? From me?" The table was deathly quiet. My mom set her glass down too hard, exchanging a glance with my dad. Ethan fumbled for words. "I didn't want to worry anyone," he said weakly, but it sounded hollow. His hand trembled as he reached for his drink. "Worry," I said, my voice rising. "I think I deserve to be worried too, since you took my inheritance, the money meant to be split fairly." My mom's face paled. My dad stayed silent, his expression blank. This wasn't the shouting match I'd braced for, it was worse, heavy with unease. "You didn't need it, Caleb," my mom said, her voice shaky. "Ethan's had it so tough, and you're always fine. We thought we were doing the right thing." "I'm fine because I earned it," I snapped, surprised by my own intensity. "You didn't even ask me, you just decided I didn't need it without giving me a say." But now I know why. My mom's eyes welled up. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. I thought I was helping Ethan. He's struggled so much. By lying to me, by taking what's mine, I stood, anger surging. I'd tried to stay calm, but I couldn't. Ethan stayed quiet, his face flushed, offering no defense. I felt betrayed, disgusted even. I'd always seen him as the underdog, but he'd been playing us all. I didn't want to be petty, but I was owed something, and I wasn't going to let this slide. So I did something I'm not proud of. I turned to my parents, looked at my mom, who was barely holding it together, and said, I hope you're happy with the choice you made for Ethan because I gave my share of the inheritance to charity. It wasn't just to spite them. It was because I wanted no part of it. If they thought Ethan needed it more, so be it. The shock on their faces, especially my mom's, gave me a small sense of justice. The dinner dragged on in silence with no more attempts at small talk. Ethan wouldn't meet my eyes. I felt empty but oddly free. I'd spoken my truth and done what felt right. The dinner ended and I left, a weight lifted. I didn't need their validation anymore. As for Ethan, I'm not sure where we stand, but I learned one thing. Sometimes walking away is the best revenge.